Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to the 21 days. This is day 22, and it's the beginning of our second session, which is going to run over the next 7 weeks. So if you're new this time, a big hearty welcome to you. And if you're returning after our Jumpstart 21-day session, after a 2-week break, welcome back. It's such a pleasure to have you here again. My name is Purnima. I've been practicing Sahaja Yoga since I was a little girl. And it's really always such a pleasure to be here with you to be part of your ongoing journey to deepen into Sahaja Yoga. Just in case you didn't have a chance yet, this is a good time to go ahead and prepare your foot soak. If you're brand new and you're not sure what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. We'll explain more later. But for those of you who are old hands by now, just make sure you have a dishpan with some warm water in it, lukewarm, bit of salt, a towel, some rinse water, and that's all you'll need. So I'll just tell you a little bit about what to expect for this session. This is a session that is designed to help establish you into Sahaja Yoga. So you can think of the initial experience as a kind of jump start, sort of like a plane taking off. You need that energy to get off the runway. But now we're really going to find our wings. We're going to settle in, find that equilibrium where we can really sustain our flight and sustain our sense of meditation, sustain that silence within us. So we'll be following a similar format across these sessions. We'll have presenters, live music, and we'll go over some of the same topics, but we'll go on a deeper level and we'll learn some new techniques. So this new session is really about the experience. We're going to try and not talk too much and really invite you to experience that inner silence and to integrate it into your daily life. So if you are new today, I'll just mention that you can hop into the breakout rooms. You can ask to go into a breakout room to get a little bit more detail, to catch up with what's going on. And there's also a bunch of recorded sessions and resources available on the website. And if anyone is returning and you haven't had a chance to get a mentor yet, you can always email 21daymentors@gmail.com and we'll assign you to a mentor. We've matched already 200 people with mentors, and that's a great way to get some personalized support as you go deeper on your journey. All right, with all that said, today's session is going to be focusing on the central channel, which is a great way to get deeper into that equilibrium that I was describing, that really takes this experience of silence and this balance and makes it something that becomes part of who we are, something we can rely on and trust in ourselves, that we really are meditators now, and this is a part of our personality. So at this point, I'd love to invite our presenters on the screen. We're going to have 2 guided meditations. We're going to have another lecture by our founder of Sahaja Yoga, Shri Mataji Devi, and we're really fortunate to have some beautiful live music. So I'd love to invite our presenters onto the screen and they can introduce themselves, maybe say a little bit about yourselves, and I don't know, something beautiful that happened to you today or whatever pops into your head. Maybe we can start with Mark.
Hi, this is Mark in northern New Jersey. I started Sahaja Yoga without really understanding anything about it when I was 25 years old, and then I eventually started to perceive and understand a bit of what is this really and what is happening to me by doing this meditation. And now, many, many years later, I'm finally understanding that I need to really express my creativity. So I am now taking a online watercolor painting course and discovering that when you're meditating, you also can be quite creative.
That's so lovely. More layers every 25 years. Awesome. Kalyan, can you introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. Glad to be on this session with all of you. My name is Kalyan. I'm from the Hartford area in Connecticut. I started my meditation journey about 20 years back. and it has been a beautiful journey. I also play the violin. I play the Indian classical music, and it has been a great experience for me to grow in music along with growing in Sahaja Yoga. So today for the central channel, I'm going to be presenting a rag. It's called Rag Jog, which would help us for the central channel.
Beautiful. We look forward to that.
Sure.
And Shivani.
Hi everyone, my name is Shivani and I'm originally from Australia, but at the moment I'm coming to you from Vancouver in Canada. And like Purnima, I've also been meditating for many years since I was a little girl. And I'm very excited to meditate with everyone here today and also to listen to the violin. That'll be great, but I hope everyone enjoys.
Wonderful. All right, let's plunge into this magic. So I'm going to hand it off to Mark. Please take it away.
Let's begin by realizing that even when we encounter something amazing, sometimes we don't just fully absorb it. We have to sort of ponder about it. So something to ponder with where we're going in our lives is how much we rely on what we perceive, on what we feel through our five senses, and how we depend on that to tell us what is real, what is true, and what is not real and not true. And we rely on this awareness to tell us what's happening out there in the world, what's happening in our families, in our workspace, just in the environment, and also what's happening with me. How am I doing? How am I feeling? Am I okay? Am I growing? And what holds us back is that we get stuck here. We live in concepts. And sometimes they're very useful and fruitful concepts, and sometimes they actually stop us from evolving, from changing, from becoming who we want to be. And the other thing that can happen with these concepts is that even if we run into truth, we may not feel it. We may not have the perceptual ability to pick up on that this is true. And we also then can't recognize it, that, wow, this is what I've been looking for. And so in that state of where we don't really perceive things in their completeness, we can get very confused. And of course, as seekers of truth, the big question always is, who am I? What am I here for? What is my purpose? And so what happens for me and many others that we start practicing Sahaja Yoga, a form of meditation. And the thing that starts to change is our perception itself. We actually become aware of not just what's happening out there that's true, but also what's happening inside ourselves. We start to feel, where are we? How are we? Am I in balance? Is there some reason why I'm yelling at people or I'm just staying in my room and not coming out? So what happens with the meditation, as we've been discovering in the first 21 days, is that we achieve a state, even if it's just for a few minutes, of balance. And accompanying that state is the end of all these concepts. In other words, the thinking itself becomes quiet. The radio is turned off. Now, does this happen in your first session of Sahaja Yoga? For some people it does, but for a lot of people like me, it is not overnight. And so a big, strong piece of advice to everybody who's trying it for the first time is be patient with yourself. It takes a while for this new kind of perception, this new kind of awareness to really become something that you recognize and you start to rely on it. And it becomes how you live. So my advice is stick with it. So now let's have a meditation together. And if it is your first time, then just do your best to follow along with the instructions. Something you don't understand, you can always ask for a breakout room later and say, what were they doing? And maybe you do feel something this first time, and maybe you don't, but definitely you will start feeling something, even if not tonight. So the first thing we're going to do is just put our attention inside. And often that helps to close our eyes, so we have less distractions, less things for our attention to grab onto. And within us is a subtle system, and we have a diagram here that shows the subtle system. So you're going to get to know this subtle system very well, because as your perceptions change, you'll start to feel on your fingertips the state of these 7 energy centers. So we're going to put our attention on the triangular bone called the sacrum bone. So it's between 1 and 2 on the chart. So just see as you close your eyes if you can perceive that space in your body. It's below the spine in the sacrum bone. And that coiled energy, we call it as a mothering or purifying energy, in Sanskrit, Kundalini. So together, let's raise this energy up. Takes 2 hands, one to express our desire, one to express our action. And the first time we raise it, we tie a knot. We'll do the motion again from the sacrum bone to above the top of our head, and we'll tie 2 knots. And the third time, 3 knots. And we also do another hand movement to begin our meditation. We call a bondon, or a protection. Take your right hand, put it over your left arm, down by your left hip, and just make a big arc over the top of your head, all the way down to your right hip and back. That's 1. We'll do 7 in total. You'll also notice that we have a photograph of the founder of Sahaja Yoga, Shri Mataji Devi, and we've found that if we meditate with the photograph, it helps a lot. So it's something to experiment with as you keep trying out Sahaja Yoga. So we want to ground our attention into the present reality. So that can help by sitting on the earth, sitting on the floor, or if you're in a chair, just putting your 2 hands towards the floor. Now we can rest our 2 hands on our lap. And we can take our right hand, with our left hand just resting with the palm up on our lap, we can place the right hand on the navel, and then just move it down about an inch or so and just press. So we're inviting this mothering energy to nourish each of our centers. Then we raise our hand, place it right on the middle of the stomach, on the navel, and this corresponds to an energy center that establishes peace, the calmness within us. Now put our hand in the center of our chest. Put our attention on our breathing. Now put the hand at the base of the throat, at front. Then put the hand across the forehead. Notice what's happening to you physically, emotionally, how your mood might be now becoming very quiet, everything calming down. Then rest your right hand on top of your head. And with the attention in the palm of your right hand, just bring your right hand up in the air. See if you feel anything in the palm of your right hand. So part of a daily practice can be doing a simple exercise like that to just request that the Kundalini energy balance all these energy centers, but also we include a foot soak. So let's do that now. If you're ready, you can put your 2 feet in your foot soaking bowl. We use the earth element to help get our attention established in the present moment. Now in the foot soaking bowl, we're combining earth and water. The earth is represented by the salt. So now we can just close our eyes. And see if there's any thoughts. Sometimes there's still one or two rolling around. Sometimes it's complete silence. So just see what's happening with you. If there's a thought, don't fight with it. You can say to the thought, not this, but then just let go. Just breathe, no effort. So as part of your routine, you might be foot soaking for 5 or 10 minutes every day. So what we can do now is we can lift our feet out one by one. We can rinse them off. And we'll just set the foot soaking bowl aside and we can pour it out later. And just see if we stay in the mood of being receptive, of opening ourselves to feel what is real, what is true. So in this video, Shri Mataji will illustrate some of the ways that we have managed to get ourselves out of balance, not only individually, but in our groups, in our societies. And she'll also explain to us, well, how do we open ourselves to perceiving what is real? What is the method? How do we open ourselves so that we are actually ready to receive the truth? So we can just sit quietly for another minute in just our silence, just settle. See if we're thinking.
I bow to all the seekers of truth. at the very outset, we have to understand that truth is what it is. We cannot conceptualize it. We cannot organize it, and we cannot use it for our own purposes. Moreover, with the blinkers on both the sides like a horse, with all our conditionings, we cannot find the truth. We have to be free people. We have to be open-minded people, like scientists, to see for ourselves what is the truth. If somebody preaches something, professes something, says something, is not to be accepted blindfolded. As I told you yesterday, that the essence of all the religions is to find the eternal and to treat the transitory in its own understanding and in its own limitations. That's why we have lost our balance. If we are really the people who want to know the truth, we have to know that at human awareness we cannot know it. It becomes a concept. You have to have the spiritual awareness, but spiritual awareness is a state of your being, where you become the spirit. Again the word I'll say become is not artificially certifying somebody that now you have become a Hindu or a Christian or a Muslim, you become anything. Because you may be a Muslim, Christian, Hindu, anything, you can commit any sin. You can do anything that is wrong. Nothing from inside is going to stop you. So all these things have become so much outward that now there are people who have started saying there is no God, there is nothing like religion, which is not true. First of all, when we say there is nothing or there is not God, we should find out. Have we been able to find out about it, or just in our ego we are saying there is no God? Have we been able to work it out to see if there is God or not? You do not judge God by the people who talk about God. Anybody can talk about God because they think there's no law that can catch them. They can talk against Him, they can talk for Him, they can do the way they like. They can even make money by talking against God and against all the prophets. That's a very good way of making money, blackmailing. But does that mean that whatever is written is a Bible? Or whatever is black and white is to be taken that seriously? So first of all, we have to be little independent, to be free, to know that if you have to know the Spirit, as they said, know thyself, then you have to know it on your central nervous system. As I can feel this is cold or hot, you have to feel the divine power which is all-pervading, which is the truth, which manifests the truth because it is the love of God. You have to first feel it on your central nervous system, which is the Bodha. Now one may say that in the West we have advanced so much, all right, we have gone too far with everything. But if we see, when we started with science, what have we produced? hydrogen bomb, atom bomb, all kinds of devils sitting on our heads. You take to any enterprise that we take, we go to extremes. There is no balance. Any mental projection is linear. It moves in one line and then recoils back, and then you are shocked. Now you have got acid rain, you produced machinery, all right. Machinery is for you, you are not for machinery. And thus there is no balance between you and the machinery, no balance between you and the science. It's just like going amok with anything that you get into your hand. And this balance you can only have when you become the spirit. You see beautiful chandeliers here, beautifully made, but unless and until there is light, what is the meaning of these chandeliers? Nothing. In the same way, if you do not have the light of the Spirit shining in your attention, you will not know your meaning. Like this instrument. Unless and until it is connected to the mains, it is useless. Unless and until we are connected to the mains, we do not know the Absolute. And that's why all these problems are there. Now, when I am talking about this instrument which lies within us, one has to again know that this is the knowledge of the roots. And to know the knowledge of the roots, you have to become a subtler personality. With a gross mind, you cannot see it. To become the subtler personality, minimum of minimum, you have to know that so far you have not known the roots. If you had known, there would be no problem. But there's something has gone wrong somewhere. In every human enterprise, even in religions, that's why today we find this kind of a farce going on. And what is gone wrong is that we have to seek the eternal. Maybe it might look little different. For example, Buddha and Mahavira did not talk about God at all. I also did not talk about God for 4 years, at least 3 years. As soon as you talk of God, again people start jumping. When can we become God? This is the first question. So first you become the self, the first step. That's why they did not talk. They said first you become yourself. Unless and until you have your eyes, how can you see the colors? So first have your eyes. It is for your benevolence that you better get what you deserve. What is your own? It's your birthright as a human being to become the spirit. That is what Sahaja Yoga is. Saha means with and Jai is born. Born with you is the right. To get this yoga is the union with the divine.
Let's continue in this state of meditation. Just silently and effortlessly absorbing Shri Mataji's words. We'll continue to be in meditation while listening to this music. See if we can keep our attention at or above the top of the head in a very gentle way.
We'll continue to sit in a meditative state and just enjoy that feeling of stillness after listening to that music. If any thought comes to your mind, just say, "Not now." Or you can say, "I surrender it." Just let it go. We can bring our right hand and place it on our heart. And here we can say, just within ourselves, "I am not this body. I am not this mind. I am not this ego, this intellect, or these conditionings. I am the pure spirit. I am nothing but the pure spirit." We can bring our right hand to the base of the spine in front of us. And we can just raise it a few times from the base of our spine to the top of our head. Do this 3 times. And we can place our hand with our palms spread out on top of our head. And we'll just rotate, massage our scalp clockwise 7 times. And here we'll ask our Kundalinis, Mother, please establish my self-realization. Mother, please establish my self-realization. And then we can lift our hand above the top of our head. Just see what we feel. We can bring our hand back down and just maintain our attention above the top of our head. And we'll try to achieve that state of thoughtless awareness. We can slowly open our eyes and we'll raise our Kundalinis and take a bondon together to placing our left hand in front of us rotating our right hand around the left whilst bringing them both up. We'll tie a knot at the top. We'll do this 2 more times. And then we'll give ourselves a bondon, or take a bondon, bringing our right hand over us, making an arc, 7 times. So I'm going to just go over one small exercise that you can experiment with, and we call it, or any experienced Sahaja Yogi will call it, giving a bondon. And so far we've been talking about the Kundalini and feeling the cool breeze on our hands and on the top of our heads as a manifestation of the Kundalini. And that cool breeze that you feel is the presence of what we call the Param Chaitanya, which is the Sanskrit term for the absolute consciousness. Or as Shri Mataji has mentioned many times to us in her speeches, it's the all-pervading power that governs everything. So, like the Kundalini, the Param Chaitanya is an energy that flows through every living being, and it connects all of us. And like the Kundalini, it's nourishing, and you can surrender any problems that you have to this Param Chaitanya, and it will help you resolve it. And so this Param Chaitanya, this energy, it's a living energy, and it's beyond human comprehension. But what we're going to do is we're going to do a little exercise called giving a bondon, and it's for specifically asking the Param Chaitanya to resolve certain issues that you might be facing. So this could be anything from a health issue or an issue at work, or even a world issue that's concerning you, even relationship problems that you might have with a friend or your partner or your children, really anything. So what you do is you bring your left hand up like this in front of you, and you write down the problem on your hand. So, it might be you're having a problem with a friend. So you'll just write your name and your friend's name and the problem between you. And then what you do is you just rotate. So similarly, like how we clear out our chakras or balance our chakras, you do a clockwise rotation, just giving that problem vibrations. And you do this while putting your attention on the top of your head, on your sasrara. And don't think about the issue, don't think about the problem, just surrender it. And just allow the vibrations with the Param Chaitanya to sort it out. So you do this a few times, and then you just let it go. And like anything, so far, everything that we've discussed when it comes to raising a Kundalini or doing a foot soak or clearing out chakras, it's healthy to approach it with a little bit of skepticism. Like Shri Mataji mentioned in her speech today, you have to approach it like a scientist. So when you do give a bondon, do it with real intention that, I'm sure if you don't have any problems, that's incredible. But, if there's anything in your life, you can write it down on your hand and just observe. Just see, make it an experiment for yourself to see how you feel or how those issues work themselves out. And you'll find that, of course, again, you have to experience it yourself, but often these problems get resolved in a almost miraculous way, and that'll give you a little bit of an idea as to what this Param Chaitanya is. And so with that, I will pass the session back to our MC, Purnima.
Thank you, Shivani. So just a few announcements, and then we'll go into our question and answer session. So our next session is going to be on the topic of how to go deeper within ourselves. And we are going to be meeting Thursdays, Tuesdays, and Sundays for the next 7 weeks at this time, 8:45. And in between, if you'd like to be meditating every night to keep up your routine, which is a great way to get established, we have a collective foot soak and meditation, which is a little bit shorter, that happens Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And all the programs are recorded, so you can refer back to them as needed. And so Sunday, we're going to go a little bit deeper into exploring our left channel. So today was really about this central channel, which is the path of our evolution, how we go deeper within ourselves. And the left channel, when that really clears out, we can get rid of our old habits, those old concepts like Mark was describing, and it really clears the way for us to go deeper into the joy of the present. And as always, we have a lot of wonderful resources. You can still request a mentor. There's a form in the Zoom chat that you can fill out. Of course, you can join our WhatsApp group. There's lots of encouraging, lovely messages that get posted there. It's a great way to connect with the community. And the link for that is in the Zoom chat. And we'll just take a quick glance at the website. Most of you have already seen this, but just so you can see, there is a place to access all of the recordings, including tonight's recording. You can also always find the link to join here. And there will be, see, that's where you can find the link to tonight's recording. And there will be handouts available. A lot of the handouts are the ones that we've already seen in the previous course. These are great to refer back to as we explore these subjects in more depth. You may find that you're able to absorb it in a deeper way now that you're coming at it again. So if you'd like to hop into a breakout room right now, go ahead and type that into the chat, or sorry, write to the breakout room help, and someone will assign you to have a little more personalized experience with a Sahaja Yoga teacher. But the rest of us will stay here and we'll have a question and answer session. So if I can invite our presenters to return onto the screen with us. Unfortunately, Kalyan has to go, but he left us with a very blissful violin, and the remainders of us will have a little chat. So while we're waiting for people to post questions in the chat, I am wondering, is there a time that either of you has used the bondon technique that we just learned to resolve an issue? And I'm curious kind of how the issue turned out, but also what it did for you just to give it a bondon, no matter what ended up happening with the thing itself. How did you have the idea to give it a bondon, and then what happened to you once you gave it? So I know I'm kind of pulling this question out of the air, but if either of you feels inspired to answer. Mark, you look like you have an answer.
Appearances, right? You just put white in your beard and you just look like you have all the answers.
You look,
Yeah.
your wisdom is just emanating.
Right. Yeah. There have been moments in which when my attention has been completely clear and I'm not thinking, but there's something that I want. And in a state of balance, I'm not obsessing over it, I'm not worrying about it, but I do want this attention, which is called the Parama Chaitanya, this universal divine attention. I want it to be in that attention, and let go of the problem myself entirely. So then there have been moments in which I consciously said to that attention, this is what I want. And then instantly, it's like I just set it down. I just let go of it. It's like now it can go out of my attention. It's no longer my problem. It's now either going to be solved or not solved, but I'm just going to watch to see how it works out. And then to watch sort of like the drama unfold, as if I'm sort of watching the script being written and I'm in it and I have a part to play, which is mostly just to sort of watch in amazement that look at how it's all unfolding. It's happening. And I don't have a single worry about it, whether it happens or not happens. I've now let it be what's going to happen. But because I invited this divine attention to look after it, the divine attention is so eager to solve problems for us, especially if we can get our thinking out of the way. And then it just becomes an amazing story to tell to people of how I wanted something, then I let it go, and then there it was. And sometimes it unfolds over several hours. Sometimes it's almost instantaneous, but really requires that I go into a state of complete calmness. I really, truly have to let go of the worrying about it. So it's a very sort of a general conceptual answer of using that invitation to the divine of saying, this is for you, not for
Yeah.
me.
That's lovely. I really honestly relate to that. Like sometimes just in the moment of remembering that that's there as a tool, I'll notice like, oh, why am I stressing about this thing? I can just hand it off. And even that action is already a victory, let alone how it turns out. And then often it does magically get resolved as well.
Well,
What
one
about
thing I forgot to mention was sometimes you can feel the attention immediately because the hand that you've put the bundle into will actually start to feel cool.
you?
And so sometimes you'll get an actual central nervous system feedback that, wow, it really is happening. Sometimes I'm not so sensitive, so then I'm just paying attention. What's going to happen?
Yeah, yeah. What about you, Shivani?
Yeah, I mean, Mark kind of explained it better, but I'll just give a couple of examples of times that I've used abundant before. Um, so I, at some point, there was like a tension between me and a friend, and I wasn't really sure what was wrong, and like, I couldn't really get to the bottom of it. And so I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna surrender this. So I wrote it down on my hand, gave abundant, and then I just let it go. And like Mark just mentioned, sometimes your subtle system will and your Kundalini will show you things that you might not be able to see or perceive through your other senses. So I felt my ring fingers um, warm, and I was like, okay, I know through my Sahaj knowledge that there's something going on here, whether it's like conditionings, ego, she's not able to forgive me, I'm not able to forgive her, something's going on. But that act of giving abundant and just surrendering it pretty much immediately was sorted out. And that's happened many times. So that's only one example of an interrelationship kind of conflict that the Param Chaitanya sorted out for me. But another situation which may seem a little silly, but my husband was on his way to work, or he had to leave for work, and he had a really important thing to do at work, and his keys just suddenly went missing, the car keys, and we were like in a panic. And we're looking everywhere, all the logical places that we could think that the keys had gone, we just couldn't find them. And so we're like, okay, breathe, just give it a bundle. So we stopped, we gave it a bundle, and then it was so funny, like literally the next place that we looked, we found the keys. So those are just a couple of examples of the bundle. And I know that the keys is a little bit like, you could say silly, but it's really, you can use the bundle whenever you're in a tough situation. I've used it also before presentations. If I'm like very nervous, I would just give it a bondon and surrender it. And the act of just surrendering it really, it's really apparent in the result of that I observed in my own life. So really, like it's really great. Everyone should give it a try and just observe what the results of that are. And sometimes it's like not very obvious. It's a little bit more subtle, and you might just not see it working out. But the Param Chaitanya is, like I mentioned before, kind of beyond what we can understand, and it really it's the divine attention. So yeah, experiment with it, I would say, because you can only really know how the bandhan works and how any Sahaj technique works once you experience it yourself.
Agreed. And I agree with you about the giving bandhans either for these huge life things or for something as small as losing your keys, because the point is, it's not that we're like, oh, divine power, please find my key. It's an opportunity, even though that's what happened, right? It's an opportunity, and I've done that with losing glasses, finding a parking space, but it's not, it's almost embarrassing, but it's because that state that we get into where we're worrying about something prevents us from being in meditation. And the divine power always wants us to be in that state of joy. So by offering it, by surrendering it, we're just removing the obstacles to that joy. And then we can fly. And whatever works out, we get a sense of peace with it, however the presentation goes, whether we find a parking space or not, then we can enjoy the results.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'm going to look in the chat and I'm seeing if there's some questions for us. Oh, someone's asking, should we give a bondon to the same problem every day until it's resolved, or just do it once and let it go? That's a great question. Mark, do you want to take that?
It's a great question because it's a measure of how much we really let go of it. So, 108 times and then every day 108 times. To me, we haven't actually let go of it fully. That we're still thinking about it and a bit concerned about it. And that it could be that maybe that first day we weren't really, thoughtless. We weren't really in meditation. So we just kind of, oh, just give it a bondon. And then the next day it's still there. So, but at that moment when we truly hand it off, then we just enter in a state of watching, waiting, seeing how it's going to work out, and just staying very alert without really any expectation of how it's going to work out. As you said, it could be that you don't find the parking space, but because you've let go of this must happen, instead it's let it happen, then even if we end up not finding the parking space, it's like it's fine. And maybe there was some reason that we had to then leave earlier, and it was a good thing because somebody was waiting at our front door when we got back. And if we'd found the parking space, they would have been waiting for hours. So in some cases, we feel so attached to a problem that we're going to be after it all the time. But my own personal ideal, which I don't reach many times, is if I really, really let go of it, then now, if I really did this with full attention, I am now letting go of this, then let's just see how it works out.
Yeah, agreed. Shivani, one person is asking to just go over again in just a recap of what the process is. And I was wondering if you can also talk about the importance of doing the bondon in a clockwise direction.
Okay. So I might just go over how to do it again. So you bring out your left hand in front of you, just like this, and just write down the problem. You can be as specific as you like. And then you just put your attention on your sesra don't think about the issue. Don't like involve yourself in it or analyze the problem. Just write it down and surrender it. And as you do that, just rotate your right hand in a clockwise direction. And so that action should, resolve your issue. That should bring the attention of the Param Chaitanya to help you out with whatever it is. But you should have just like a pure, clean desire for whatever it is to just resolve itself, you know? There, and then just detach yourself from it, like Mark was mentioning, because the idea behind how it works is that ultimately we need to surrender everything. And we've spoken about surrender in previous sessions from like another round of 21 days prior to this one, about how that act of surrendering is really that big step that you need to take towards thoughtless awareness. And once you achieve that, even giving a bandhan, the act of physically doing it is a tool that we all have, but essentially it's for a moment being in that thoughtless awareness state and allowing the Param Chaitanya to solve those issues for you. But it helps to actually write it down with your hand, because then it really draws your attention to the issue. And when I say attention, I mean your witness state. It's your detached attention. You're putting this problem on your hand and you're asking the Param Chaitanya to take it from you and just to sort it out. And hopefully that kind of covers how it's done. Was there anything else part of that question? Did I cover it?
Yeah. I'll just add on, like, we do a clockwise bandhan because just the way we do, like when we're doing this, or if we're bandhaning one of our chakras, because clockwise is the direction of benevolence, you could say. That's also the direction in which our chakras spin within us.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a working out of whatever the issue is. So that's just one little detail. And to this point of surrender that you're mentioning, some of my most powerful experiences with bandhans have been giving bandhans for someone else's issue, something that I'm completely detached about. Maybe it's even a world thing, just giving it like from a sense of just love, but without getting all stuck
Mm-hmm.
into it. And also when other people have done that for me, like I'll mention like, oh, I have a cold, and then someone will be like, I'll give you a bandhan, and they just write my name, and then I'll be like, wow, why am I feeling so good? So
Yeah.
um
Yeah. It can really, you can give a bandhan for any issue, even if it's not like two of your friends are arguing or somebody completely outside of your life. You can give them a bandhan for their own well-being as well, and it will help them resolve the issues. I've seen this in my own life actually, like when I've noticed friends arguing or something going wrong, I'm like, okay, I just want this to be solved and just give it a bandhan and surrender it. It can be done for anything, really. Even a world issue, a war, you can give a bandhan for just about any problem, as long as it's a real problem and not, oh, I want it to be sunny today. I mean, you know, something with real depth, I believe.
yeah, totally.
Shivani touched on an important attitude about it, which is um, you're enveloping something in pure love.
Hmm.
And or as you said, Purnima, it's an act of benevolence. So it's like I want every element of this to be bathed in love
Hmm.
and positivity, and we do it presumably not because we're angry, but because we want a resolution, and we want it to be in the best for all the different elements of that situation.
A
Indeed.
question just came up on the chat saying, is it clockwise to our right. So I'll just clarify that your hand is like a clock face. So if your hand is a clock face, you're just going in the clockwise direction as if your hand is a clock.
Yeah, how I remember is when I'm doing like a correction to a chakra, it's for me top to the left. And for giving a bondon, it's top to the right.
Yeah. And someone is asking, do you write on your hand with a pen or just figuratively with your finger? Just with your finger, because it's not very surrendered if you then have the problem written on your hands. In fact, I've
Yeah.
even seen people kind of give a bondon and then like just kind of brush off their hands, like literally washing your hands of it. All right, moving on to another topic for a moment. This session is about establishing ourselves in the practice of meditation daily, developing a routine. And hopefully, many of the people watching have already started to find the time of day when they can do that and really get into that, even by joining these sessions. I'm curious how each of you balances that discipline or that routine of meditating daily at a fixed time while keeping that sahaj, spontaneous, effortless quality that is necessary to meditation. So how do you balance that kind of, discipline with the softness or the effortlessness?
For me personally, I live in a household with other people who practice Sahaja Yoga meditation, and so we've all made it a point to come together at least once in the day all together as a group of us. And that kind of keeps you accountable when you've got other people around that, if one day you're like, oh, I'm feeling lethargic and like a bit, then you know that there's someone else there to be like, come on, no, let's go and all meditate together. And so that's great. But if you don't have someone with you to kind of be your accountability buddy, um, just try to find your why for why you're meditating. And there could be many reasons, and ultimately you want to have a deep spiritual experience. But when you know your why, it becomes easy to remove all the distractions and remove all of the excuses to not meditate. And so that's one thing. But the other is the easiest way to get into a good routine is to just remove all of the barriers. So don't make it ceremonious. You don't need to like clean your space before you meditate. You can even just add it in as like the smallest little, like we brush our teeth, it's a good conditioning, right? In the morning, if you find that, you're getting overwhelmed with fitting it in your routine somewhere, literally as you wake up, just sit on your bed, raise your Kundalini, and just sit there for 2 minutes even, and just try to go into that thoughtless awareness state. And that in the morning, and you can do the exact same at night, just in your PJs, sit in your bed, make it as obstacle free as you can until you really settle into that routine and feel the benefits of regularly sitting down.
That's great advice. That goes for foot soak buckets as well. Like make them as accessible as possible. Like make it as easy as possible to fill it with salt. Like the fewer obstacles, the easier. What about you, Mark?
I have a highly evolved rational brain, and so I just trick it and say 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And once I get into the state, then, unless you have to get somewhere, like you're doing it before you have to get to work. Um, but sometimes I just do a little trick on myself. 5 minutes. You can sit for 5 minutes. Otherwise, for me, when I was new, I happened to be living like Shivani in a house with other people who also were trying out Sahaja Yoga. So a big help is finding a buddy do it in person or even remotely, but just agree on a time, and then you feel a bit of a commitment that, well, they're going to set their alarm clock or they're going to set aside what they're watching on Netflix at that time. So strongly recommended to have somebody that you can say, let's do it at, and then make it a regular habit. I know a bunch of guys who get up every morning earlier than I get up, and uh, and one of them is going to start that meeting at 6:30, 7 days a week. And you know that there's going to be some people there, so then you make the effort. So for me, very undisciplined person on my own, I recommend that if you're like me, find somebody that you can do it with. And if you're living with that person, that really helps. And if they're just somebody that you've met through 21 days or through your local meeting, sometimes that is the solution, is set a time where you're going to do it with somebody else.
Mm. Yeah, I agree with everything you both said. And, I'll add one thing, which is I think the difference between something that we look forward to and something that we're like, oh, I have to foot soak, is that sense of what it's for. And it's easy, like once we decide that we're going to do something every day, for it to become routine, like that word, oh, it's a routine, can make it kind of emptied out of that adventure. But if we come to it with that same curiosity and sense of discovery of like I sometimes find it hard to wake up in the morning, but if I'm about to like go with a friend to climb a mountain, and it's kind of like, I used to do that even as a child. Like I'd wake up really early to go climb mountains with my friend in New Hampshire, and her mom. And we'd wake up so early in the morning to go and do that. And it felt like such a cool thing to do, as a 12-year-old. And so I think if we bring that sense of adventure every time we sit down, like, what will I feel this time? What chakra will open up? There's actually so much to discover within us. We can try different things. We can, see what happens if I put attention here on this one, that one. There's so much more to go to. So if we bring that scientist's curiosity or that adventurous spirit, then that 5 minutes can be full of discoveries, rather than like, oh, I've got to wake up and meditate because it's a thing that I do.
Hmm.
So that's actually something that I'm working on right now, because I've been doing it since I was literally like a little kid, like you, Shivani. Like before you can even remember when you started. We can go through these phases where it's like doodly do, like this is something I do, like brushing my teeth. But refreshing that sense of like discovery can really make it magical. And then you just see how your day unfolds after you've had those 5 minutes or however much you can give. All right. Um, I'm not seeing any other urgent questions in the chat. So um, maybe we'll end here, unless, does either of you have anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up our Q&A?
I think you guys have expressed things so beautifully and so clearly.
Yeah, I would agree. I think, hopefully the method as to how to give a bondon was nice and clear, and hopefully people can try it out. So, give it a shot. Like a scientist, just approach it in a very clear-headed manner, open-minded, and then see how that unfolds for you in your life.
The
And
other
let us
thing,
know in the WhatsApp and in the chats,
yeah.
how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. Share your experiences
The
for
other thing
sure.
you can do is say, okay, just 1 week.
Mm.
Just 1 week. I'm going to do this every day at just 1 week. And for people like me, you just find a way around the ego, which always wants to say no to everything and no, this, blah, blah, blah. Like has always wants to argue with everything, like even something that's so nourishing and beneficial to you. So then, okay, look, just a week. Okay, we set the time. and then kind of build up the habit, and then, oh man, it was so enjoyable. Oh, and then you realize that it's working, and then the excitement can come in there, even though at times it feels like a routine. Then you start to notice that, well, look at the differences. Something's happening, and I like what's happening.
Mm. Lovely. On that note, we'll conclude our question and answer here. But if you do still want to go into a breakout room, they're still open. So feel free to request that. And for the rest of us, hopefully we can float off into our evening in a state of silence and enjoyment. So thank you both so much for those beautiful answers. And it's always so fun to connect here and chat. So good night.
Good night. Thank you.